Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of the Racing School and the final piece of the puzzle when it comes to cornering, that is changing gears. Now obviously some games don't allow you to have manual gears and it's all automatic, but if you do have that option there, it's the first thing that I would recommend getting used to because it will drastically improve your driving ability for a number of reasons. I'll come on to those in a little while, but let's first of all focus on when and how you should change gears. We'll mainly be focusing on the Tsukuba circuit today because there are a lot of places where you can change gears, and I will be showing some differences and show the difference between manual gears and automatic, so you can see the sort of the reasons why we would want to use manual gears essentially. But let's get to it, and on the screen all I want you to do is try and focus on the rev counter and the gear that we're in. So focus on the little bits at the bottom of the screen to see how and when we change gears. So as you can see, as the rev counter gets up to the red zone, we change up, and then when we come to a corner, we basically start braking, change down again, and then start turning in. So as you can see here, we're in 4th gear, we brake, change down again, and start turning into the corner. And that's how you want to sort of try every corner basically. You want to start braking and then change down again to whatever the right gear for the corner is, and then start turning. Now you can get away with a little bit of overlap, so you can change down just as you start to turn into the corner, but really you want most of your gear changes to be done before you actually start turning into the corner. Now I will say that changing gears and getting used to manual gears is probably one of the hardest things to do when it comes to taking off assists. It's the one that will take the most work, but it's definitely the one that will reward you the most. You'll get faster lap times, and you'll also be a lot more dialed into the course, as I'll come on to in a little while. So here we are, we're breaking it down, going slow motion at this point, and we're coming up to the corner. Now what you'll see is we'll start to brake. Remember, focus on the bits at the bottom. We'll start to brake, which is now, and we change down pretty much straight away, and then we change down again. That's mainly before we've got all of our turning done, and then we start to turn the wheel by quite a lot and start going around the corner as normal. Now the difference between that and automatic gears, as you can see here, is that the gear, you can choose a lot more what happens with the gears. So automatic gears is what you're seeing on the screen now, and you'll notice that just as we start to brake, it changes up. So you can't just stay in 4th gear because there's no need to go up into 5th. The game determines that you need to go up into 5th at that speed, but you know that you just wanted to brake. So it puts you up into 5th, and then it has to do an extra shift down when you start braking, and the shift is later as well. So if you notice, we're in 2nd gear. We don't go to 2nd gear until we're a lot further into the corner. Now that's not what you want. The change of gear in automatic is determined by when the speed is at the speed that it wants to be at, rather than when you actually want to change gear. So here's a lap now with automatic gears, and you'll see that the second down change to go into 2nd gear, which is the gear that we need for the corner, is a lot later. It's a lot later than what it was when it was manual, and that just upsets the balance of the car. It just doesn't give you what the ideal power and speed that you need to get into the corner. So using automatic gears can be a help to focus on racing lines and things like that, but once you've got that down, really you need to be using manual gears, and you will gain a little bit more time by doing that, a little bit on upshifts, but mainly it will be from downshifts, because you will be able to downshift at the right time, or alternatively not upshift at the wrong time, which is what happened on the first corner of this lap. And as you'll see, the lap time, I think there's about a 0.6 of a second difference between the two laps in terms of absolute lap time. So yeah, that's the difference between manual and automatic. But let's have a look at what you're not supposed to do, as always. And there are a few things. In this first one, it's a case of being in the wrong gear for the corner. So the first corner there, as you've seen in the last few clips, was a 2nd gear corner, and same with this one up here. But we're doing it in 3rd gear, so we're basically in a gear too high, and that just loses you power. When you try to come off, you can see it's not as quick because you don't have the grunt to get off the corner. And then it works the other way as well. So we're coming up to the last corner here, we're in 4th gear, we change down, and then we change down again accidentally, you could say. Then we're in too low a gear for the corner. We only wanted to be in third gear for that corner. We ended up in second. That lost us time as well because we were right on the rev limiter, lost us speed. And here, this example is changing down the gears immediately. So, you brake and change down from fourth to second straight away. You don't want to do that. You want it to be a nice, smooth, fluid motion. So you don't want to just smash straight from fourth to second instantaneously by tapping quickly twice. You want to basically stay away from the engine hitting the red line and going crazy, essentially. So if you see on this video, we show in the top left upshifting too early, in the top right upshifting too late, in the bottom left upshifting correctly, and in the bottom right it's the automatic gears. And the automatic gears can definitely give you a guide of when to upshift at the right time. But if you look in the top right, you'll see that we upshift too late there, and you know that because the engine hits the red line, the rev counter hits the red line, and then gradually comes back a little bit, and then you start to upshift again. You don't want to be hitting that, so even when you downshift, you know that you'll downshift too early because the engine will be hitting that red line and basically going crazy. The basic idea is to be at the right level of the power range for the engine at the right time. So as you can see here, that by upshifting too early, we're not getting enough power out of the engine. We're not using it to its maximum potential, and we're the slowest. By upshifting too late, we're again using it too much, and we're not in the right gear for the level that the engine wants to be at. So we're slow again. And then, there's a tenth of a second difference between automatic and manual gears when done correctly. Now, that's pretty standard, the difference in terms of upshifts on a straight line between automatic and manual gears isn't that much. It's around a track that you will notice the bigger difference. So here's an example at high speed. It's the same thing. We just come up to a corner, get our braking done, start downshifting, get to the right gear for the corner, and then get on our way. Now, to know what gear you need to be in for any given corner, it's all about experience. You basically just have to drive the track, try out different gears for a corner. If you go too low, you'll know about it because the engine will start blowing up. Well, not blowing up exactly, but you'll start hearing horrible noises because it's hitting the red line all the time. If you're too high for a gear, too high for a corner, you might be a bit sluggish coming out of it, so the next lap try to go a gear less. It's all about experience in that regard. And the more you get used to manual gears, the more you'll get used to the kind of level of gear that you need to be in for specific corners, and you'll get used to how you need to do it. So manual gears also help you in a number of other ways as well that are a little bit less obvious. So one of the first ones is that it gets you much more dialed into the course, into the track. So you know a specific line around the track, for example, and you know where you need to brake. But adding something extra into that, which is what gear you need to be in and when you need to change gears, it just gives you that little bit of extra knowledge to know that you're doing the track right. And it's just something else to think about that allows you to get dialed into the track. So eventually it becomes a natural instinct to be able to hear the sound of the engine and know when you need to change gear. Or even you do the track so much, you know when you need to change gear. You don't need to look at the rev counter, you don't need to listen to the sound of the engine. It's all just part of learning the track, and you know that is just something that goes together with how you drive the track. It's just a part of it, and it just makes you so much more dialed in to give much more consistent and ultimately better lap times. But there's also the idea that you've got more flexibility as well. So you can drop down if you make a mistake into another gear to get a little bit more power out of it. Or if you're going to overtake someone and you take a different line, you can drop down a gear a bit earlier to get a bit more power out of a corner. And also, if you get a bit of wheel spin in a corner or something like that, instead of having to come off the throttle entirely and try to correct it, you can always shift up one gear, and that will give you a little bit less power, make it a little bit less vigorous sort of thing, and that will allow you to get out of the corner a lot nicer. And it's just all of these little things that go together to make manual gears much more integral to getting a quick lap time. It just allows you to be much more part of the whole driving experience and will generally improve your lap times and driving abilities across the board. So I hope this has helped you guys. I hope you do give it a try with manual gears if you don't use them already. It can certainly help, and I would certainly recommend it, but don't expect that it will take a bit of time to get used to it. And also for those games that don't allow you to have manual gears, just focus on the things that we've focused on in the previous episodes. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed or if it helped out at all, and I'll see you all next time.